Welcome. In the interest of safety, we would like to take this time to advise you of our emergency procedures and to point out the location of the exits. You will be informed by an announcement or the sounding of the fire alarm system in the event of an emergency requiring evacuation. In the event of an emergency, we ask that you leave in a calm and orderly fashion through the exits nearest you, which are identified by exit signs. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Ellen Grandberg, Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs at RIT. Welcome to RIT's 138th commencement, and congratulations to the class of 2023. We begin today's ceremony by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Onondaga, or the people of the Great Hill. In English, they are known as Seneca people, the keeper of the western door. Together with the Mohawk, Cayuga, Onondaga, Oneida, and Tuscarora, the Seneca make up the sovereign Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We honor and respect the enduring relationship that exists between these peoples and nations and this land. Please now stand for the national anthem. You may be seated. I would like to thank the members of the RIT Singers Choir under the direction of Professor Thatcher Lyman, School of Performing Arts in the College of Liberal Arts, and NTID Sunshine 2.0, led by Outreach Coordinator Fred Beam for their performances. They were accompanied by Professor David McCarthy, School of Performing Arts, College of Liberal Arts. A full list of performers can be found on the RIT Commencement website. Their collective efforts and musical talent are a gift to the RIT community. I'd also like to thank the members of the Gates Keystone Club Police, Pipes, and Drums, whose talent and music enhance today's celebration. We appreciate the fact that the ceremony will be enriched by the presence and expertise of our professional sign language interpreters and real-time captionists. Please join me in thanking them for their dedication to the important work of making this ceremony accessible. We are pleased to have a special graduation message for the class of 2023, their families, and our guests from Majority Leader of the United States Senate, the Honorable Chuck Schumer. Senator Schumer has been a longtime supporter of RIT and our amazing students. Please direct your attention to the large screens.
Hello, RIT. This is Senator Chuck Schumer, and it's my honor to address the faculty and staff, the family and friends of the graduates, but most of all you, the class of 2023, Congratulations. Now, I'm really sorry that I can't join you in person, but I'm sure celebrating with you in spirit. First, a quick word to the parents. As a parent, I know how hard it is to raise kids these days and how much you've invested in them. But it all pays off as you watch your son or daughter receive their diploma and become an adult before your very eyes. So congratulations to the moms and dads. And now to the class of 2023. The challenges of the last few years have been truly unique. I'm sure you expected your time in college to bring new experiences, but that probably didn't include a global pandemic. But today, you've earned a degree from a truly fine institution of higher learning, and nothing can take that away from you. You're graduating at a time of profound changes across the country and around the world. But here's the good news. Your generation is better equipped than any that's come before it to adapt to these changes, to overcome the obstacles they present, and seize the opportunities they afford, to pursue your passions and accomplish big things. Right now, though, it may seem like the future's uncertain. Many of you may not be sure what comes next, which I know sometimes can seem scary. But what has been true throughout history is just as true today. That even in times of profound change, there are always new opportunities, new ways of thinking, of doing things a better way. So my advice to the graduates of 2023 is simple. Go for it. You've got great assets, a great education from a world-class institution of higher learning, and loving families that will have your back through thick and thin. So garner the courage and strength to put aside your doubts, take a chance, and if you do, it is my hope, it is my prayer, and indeed it is my confidence that you will find true success and joy in life. So, to this great class of 2023, I say once again, congratulations, good luck, Godspeed, and don't forget, go for it.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Jeffrey Harris, Chair of Rochester Institute of Technology Board of Trustees. Mr. Harris.
A whole lot of people have been waiting a long time for this day when we gather to celebrate the accomplishments of the class of 2023. Good morning. On behalf of the RIT Board of Trustees, I would like to welcome all of you, graduates, families, friends, fellow trustees, faculty, and staff, to the 2023 RIT Academic Convocation. This morning, we kick off commencement weekend, focusing on our graduates and all that lies ahead for them. We salute numerous achievements, years of hard work, years of support by the families and friends, and the years of dedicated service by our faculty, staff, and administration. Many years ago, as an alum, I sat in your seat and I remember the excitement and the relief of receiving my degree. I also remember the anticipation of what might come next. I now have the privilege of serving as the chair of the RIT Board of Trustees, where we help guide the strategic direction of the university that helps to enable a world-class experiential learning environment that equips our graduates to be world leaders in science, engineering, business, art and design, and the liberal arts. Among our responsibilities is granting the university the authority to award degrees. Great news. The Board of Trustees has indeed granted the authority to award today's diplomas, and it is particularly rewarding for trustees who are RIT alum like me, who once sat as soon-to-be RIT alum, to be among the first to congratulate all of you. As exhilarating as it is to see the happiness on the graduates' faces today, we appreciate the others that helped them reach the milestone in their lives. I ask the graduates here on stage and in the audience to join with me, members of the Board of Trustees, the faculty and staff of RIT, in recognizing and thanking those people who, by their support, love, and encouragement, have contributed so much to the success of these graduates and celebrate with us today. Would the parents, grandparents, spouses, partners, family, friends, and children of our graduates who have joined us today, please stand to be recognized. Graduates, RIT is one of the important chapters in your life experience. You are now part of the history of RIT, and RIT will forever be part of you. Remember, this is your university. I encourage you to stay connected to RIT. RIT can continue to make a difference in your life, and you can make a difference in RIT's future. Congratulations to all of you. Enjoy this very special day. Go Tigers! Dr. Granberg.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Would the trustees on stage and in the audience please stand? On behalf of the entire RIT community, I would like to thank you and all members of the Board of Trustees for your unfailing support of our students and the talent and vision that each brings to RIT. I am also pleased to welcome RIT's vice presidents and senior administrators with us today. I ask that you each stand as I call your name, and I ask that the audience hold your applause until all have been introduced. Our platform party includes Dr. Sandra Johnson, Senior Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Keith B. Jenkins, Vice President and Associate Provost for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Dr. Diane Suslarski, Associate Provost and Dean of the Graduate School, and Dr. Neeraj Butch, Associate Provost for Student Success and Dean of Undergraduate Education. Today's mace bearer is Professor Atiya Newman, faculty member in the School of Film and Animation, College of Art and Design, and Chair of the Faculty Senate. Trustees, Vice Presidents, Administrators, Drs. Johnson, Jenkins, Suslarski, Butch, and Professor Newman, thank you for being here today. Introductions of other platform party members will take place throughout the course of this morning's program. After many years in higher education, I've found that one of the greatest resources at the university is the staff, who make it possible for RIT's faculty and students to reach their goals. It is the members of RIT's staff who keep the university running every day, handling critical activities from dining and custodial services to admissions, advising, marketing and communications, and finance and administration. It is with great respect and admiration that we thank you for your essential contributions to RIT. Representing the staff on stage today is Ms. Emily Heyman, Chair of RIT Staff Council. Emily, would you and any RIT staff in the audience or working at today's event please stand so that we can thank you? Faculty are the heart and soul of any university, and the RIT faculty are, without a doubt, among the best in the world. We take enormous pride in the excellence and expertise that each faculty member brings to the classroom and to their research and scholarship. They ignite passion in our students, challenging them, testing their limits, and celebrating with them when they have that aha moment and reach a new height. They are tireless in their dedication to their students, going above and beyond expectations both in and out of the classroom. Students tell us repeatedly that their faculty are not only their teachers, they are also their mentors, role models, advisors, and friends. Will the RIT faculty present today please stand so we can recognize you? Each year, RIT recognizes members of the faculty who exemplify teaching excellence through a series of awards which are described in your program. I will now introduce the 2022-2023 recipients of these awards, and I ask that they stand when their names are called and remain standing. If the audience will please hold their applause until I've introduced all the recipients. The recipients of RIT's highest teaching award, the Eisenhardt Award for Outstanding Teaching, are Mary J. Blanchard, Associate Professor, School of Film and Animation, College of Art and Design; Clyde Hull, Professor of Management, Saunders College of Business; Jason Listman, Associate Professor, Department of American Sign Language and Interpreting Education, National Technical Institute for the Deaf; and Sharon Mason, Professor, School of Information, Golisano College of Computing and Information Sciences. The recipient of the Richard and Virginia Eisenhardt Provost Excellence in Teaching Award is Jennifer O'Neill, Assistant Professor, Manufacturing and Mechanical Engineering Technology, College of Engineering Technology. The recipients of the Outstanding Teaching Award for non-tenure track faculty are Michelle Chabot, Senior Lecturer, School of Physics and Astronomy, College of Science, and Jessamy Comer, Senior Lecturer, Department of Psychology, College of Liberal Arts. The Trustees Scholarship Awards are the highest honor given to faculty who have excelled in areas of research and scholarship. The award is funded by donations from members of RIT's Board of Trustees. This year's recipients of the Trustees Scholarship Award are Callie Babbitt, Professor, Golisano Institute for Sustainability, and Jehan Kurtaltepe, Associate Professor, College of Science. Please join me in congratulating all of these outstanding faculty members. Finally, we also recognize faculty members newly awarded the designation of RIT Distinguished Professor, the highest academic title at RIT. This honor is given to faculty members who are judged by their peers to have attained the highest level of excellence in both research and instruction. This year, we recognize RIT Distinguished Professor Carlos Lusto, Professor, School of Mathematics, College of Science. Carlos, congratulations. The graduates and members of the Platform Party are all dressed in academic regalia. An explanation of the caps, gowns, and hoods our graduates and faculty wear can be found in your program. At today's ceremony and the college commencement ceremonies later today and tomorrow, you will notice some students wearing yellow cords over their gowns. These students are graduating with honors as described in the commencement book. You will also see students wearing orange sashes over their gowns. These sashes indicate graduates of the RIT Honors Program. You'll also notice students wearing other sashes, cords, or medallions. They may be athletes, have studied abroad, been named outstanding undergraduate scholars, are veterans who have served our country, or members of honorary societies, student government, or fraternities and sororities. We applaud all these students for their outstanding accomplishments. If anyone sees a graduate with an orange and black graduation cord, make sure to thank them. These graduates are already having an impact as RIT Tigers, current and future, by making a generous contribution to the class gift fund. 375 members of the class of 2023 have already donated to the areas on campus they're the most passionate about. Thank you all for your support and commitment to RIT now and in the future. RIT alumni can be found all over the world. We're proud to have a significant number of alumni right here in our audience: faculty, staff, parents, siblings, grandparents, other friends. We thank you for your support and ask alumni in the audience and on the platform to stand and be recognized. Graduates, as you leave here after commencement, your relationship with RIT does not end, but rather it changes as you join the ranks of RIT alumni. With us today to represent RIT alumni is the president of the RIT Alumni Association and a member of the RIT Board of Trustees, Nicholas Schneider.
Congratulations, class of 2023. I'm Nicholas Schneider, 2010 alumnus and the current president of your RIT Alumni Association. Let me be the first to welcome you to the Alumni Association. Today, you are joining a dynamic network of more than 140,000 alumni. Your fellow Tigers can be found in all 50 states and in over 140 countries across the globe. And the Alumni Association provides many opportunities for you to connect with each other through programs, volunteer opportunities, and events throughout the year. Through the Alumni Association, you will create long-lasting connections with other proud RIT alumni who support each other and the university in many ways. Speaking of events, this seems like a perfect opportunity to announce our lineup for Brick City Homecoming and Family Weekend this fall. Brick City Weekend serves as the university's official alumni weekend, and we invite you to come back as our newest alumni to celebrate with us. Mark your calendars. We look forward to welcoming you back to campus in October. On behalf of Rochester Institute of Technology's Alumni Association, I hereby declare the class of 2023 to be lifetime members and, as such, ask you to stay informed, stay connected, and stay engaged with RIT, and be enthusiastic supporters of the university. I'm thrilled and humbled to be here celebrating your accomplishments today. At this time, I would like to take a moment to also celebrate the accomplishments of one of our most impactful and accomplished alumni. Our 2022-2023 Outstanding Alumni Award recipient, Austin McCord. Established in 1952, the Outstanding Alumni Award is the highest honor the university can bestow upon a graduate in recognition of their accomplishments as well as their service and generosity to the university. Austin is a 2009 graduate of the School of Individualized Study. He is the founder of Datto, an innovative provider of comprehensive backup, recovery, and business continuity solutions. Austin led that company through its acquisition in 2017 and its subsequent IPO in 2020. He became CEO of Kasana, a healthcare technology startup with a mission to transform care management for patients with chronic conditions. A trustee and 2017 commencement speaker at RIT, Austin is the recipient of numerous awards and distinctions, including Forbes magazine's 30 Under 30 in 2015, as well as earning recognition as one of the nation's top 50 philanthropists in 2017. Let's hear a bit more about Austin.
Dream big. Some are known to advise, but as a serial entrepreneur, Austin McCord prefers to tweak that perspective a bit, as he shared with RIT graduates in 2017.
I've found that it's far better to dream often and just dream a little bit bigger than where you are today. Venturing blindly into the void is often less scary than walking the path with clear eyes.
Both McCord's success and generosity serve to inspire a new generation of RIT innovators. Through the Gap Year Entrepreneurial Fellowship, students gain access to time away from their studies, time instead focused on personal business ventures. The fellowship joins a range of initiatives sparked by McCord in his $50 million gift to RIT. As the single largest donation in university history, it gave lift to Transforming RIT, the campaign for greatness, resulting in its successful conclusion. The practical impact of that support lives within students like Janessa Steenberg. Her gap year experience reshaped a dietary whim into an enterprising whirlwind.
Seeing this and being able to present it to the world as the first clean label, graded plant-based Parmesan cheese is something I never thought that I could do this quickly.
Past fellows have touted McCord's example, along with his direct input at times, in helping their ventures achieve commercial success.
Mountain House Media is a commercial video production company, and we specialize in virtual production. We're in a gap year meeting, and he was going over all of our businesses, and he kind of asked me, like, so what makes us different? Like, why does that matter? So that's really when we took a hard look at ourselves and said, okay, what else can we offer within inside of our skill set? And with our technical background, virtual production and motion control just kind of made sense.
Austin, to me, is an incredibly out-of-the-box thinker. He's someone that, like, really doesn't want to be in the limelight, really doesn't want to have that kind of focus on him, but wants to help people. And I think that's the ultimate thing that I find inspirational about him.
Having brought to life Datto from his family's basement, McCord went on to spend more than a decade driving its evolution as a leading provider of IT solutions. His entrepreneurial energy is currently focused on healthcare technology, serving as CEO of Kasana. Now a university trustee, McCord's impact is evident across campus, from RIT's Global Cybersecurity Institute to the newly constructed Student Hall for Exploration and Development. The Shed, as it's known, opens this fall. But lasting legacy is more likely defined by a generation of innovators to follow, those whom McCord has inspired to dream often.
Honestly, I think Mark Twain said it best. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, and discover.
Austin, RIT is so grateful for your ongoing support of the university, and we look forward to your continued involvement in the years to come. Please join me at the podium to receive your award.
Thank you so much, Nick, and congratulations, Austin. I now have the pleasure of introducing RIT's president, Dr. David C. Munson, Jr. Dr. Munson has been in higher education for over 40 years and is celebrating his 6th commencement at RIT. In addition to his extensive experience as a university leader, Dr. Munson is highly regarded for his research in several areas of signal and image processing. His work served as the basis for U.S. ground-based imaging satellites and also underlies progress on space-based high-resolution imaging of the Earth. Here at RIT, Dr. Munson is a champion for students and for educational excellence. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Munson to the podium.
Well, good morning, Tigers. It is my pleasure to welcome you, class of 2023. Families, friends, faculty, staff, and trustees to this special occasion. My warmest congratulations to our new graduates in their finest hour here at RIT. Class of 23, think back to your first year orientation and kicking off your RIT adventure here in this field house. You have worked incredibly hard to get to this moment, and now you are graduating. Congratulations. Before I get too far into my remarks, I want to acknowledge one little thing. I used ChatGPT to craft this entire address. It's going to be great. No, I'm only kidding. I was tempted, but my message today is coming truly from the heart. What an honor it has been for me to serve as your president as we celebrate your achievements today. I continue to be amazed and impressed by your talent and devotion to your studies, not to mention your perseverance and resiliency as you navigated, yes, that thing we don't want to talk about, the pandemic. Today we have more than 4,800 students at all degree levels earning diplomas within this academic year. This includes our students at our campuses located overseas in China, Croatia, Dubai, and Kosovo. We truly are a global university. This is an extraordinary time for RIT with our amazing community of creators and innovators. Many of you are blessed today to turn multiple job offers into your #1 choices. These range from brand name companies to entrepreneurial startup firms. Some of you will move on to seek advanced degrees, either from RIT or other prominent universities, while others will go on to serve in the military or service organizations like the Peace Corps. Each graduate in this audience has an amazing story behind their journey, culminating in this moment. Let's talk about serving the greater good, because from my vantage point, the world needs more RIT Tigers. Success is not measured by just material wealth and prestige. It is my hope that you wake up tomorrow not solely focused on how to earn a living. Rather, that you will go out and do your best to enrich the world. Indeed, RIT alumni, more than 145,000 strong, with you included, are emblematic of goodness. In the RIT context, innovation is about leveraging our strengths in technology, the arts, and design, the core of our university, to produce graduates in every discipline capable of practicing transformative innovation that serves the greater good. Today's world needs people who know how to create and innovate, analyze and implement, collaborate, and lead. We represent creativity and innovation in all fields with a very strong culture of making. We make things that never existed before, whether those things are physical objects, digital media, new processes, or breakthrough concepts and ideas. And we put those things into use. That's innovation. While you continue on your amazing journey, let me assure you that RIT will continue to grow and become the best it can be. RIT has created an ecosystem that embraces and designs the future. You will see an acceleration of our trajectory. When you return to campus as an alum, you will see changes, just as you see before you today. Changes that should make you feel great pride. New facilities, new programs, new faculty and staff, and students who are as smart as ever. You literally have laid the foundation that enables this exciting future. You are part of RIT for life. As you move on to your next phase, you will face new challenges and tackle new opportunities. I know you will continue to employ the abilities and skills you have developed here at RIT. I urge you to continue to rely on your RIT family for support whenever needed. We hope that when you reflect on your time at RIT, your memories will be of favorite professors and staff, lasting friendships, and a feeling of joy and fulfillment. All of us at RIT, faculty, staff, and trustees, congratulate you and your families and wish you much continued success. Please come back and visit us often, whether it is for Brick City Homecoming, Imagine RIT, or a hockey game. We love it when you return to campus. You have my deepest admiration and gratitude, so thank you again, and congratulations. I would be remiss if I did not do one more thing. I'd like to congratulate our academic leader at RIT, who also soon will be writing a new chapter in her career. This is Ellen Granberg, our Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, who will become President of George Washington University on July 1st. Ellen has played a major role in building the people, the programs, and the profile of RIT. She is a brilliant and strategic thinker, an accomplished planner, and a committed doer. Her collaborative and engaging personal style will serve her especially well as she leads GW, just as it has here at RIT. So congratulations, Ellen. Okay, as I thumb through the program here, looks like I've got some duplicates. Here we go. Dr. Granberg and Mr. Jeff Harris, will you please come forward for the presentation of the honorary doctorates? By the authority of the State of New York, vested in the Board of Regents, we shall now confer degrees honoris causa, which have been recommended by the faculty and authorized by the Board of Trustees. Members of the Board of Trustees will present the honorary degree recipients, who will in turn be vested with a hood and presented with a diploma. I first call upon Trustee Hope Drummond.
Good morning, Mr. President. I have the honor to present Charles F. Gaines to receive an honorary doctorate of fine arts. Today, we bestow an honorary degree upon one of the most distinguished alumni, Mr. Charles F. Gaines. Mr. Gaines is not only an accomplished artist, but also a revered professor whose work has left an indelible mark on the worlds of art and academia. As the first Black student to earn an MFA degree from RIT in 1967, Mr. Gaines broke down barriers and set the stage for a more inclusive and diverse art community. His contributions to the art world, from his conceptual art pieces to his merger of mathematics and art, have garnered international recognition and have challenged us to think critically about the ways in which we perceive and interact with art. Mr. Gaines' impact extends beyond his own work, as he has also been a dedicated educator, sharing his knowledge and experience with students at some of the most prestigious institutions in the country. His achievements have made him a trailblazer, an inspiration, and a role model for generations of artists to come.
For sharing your unique, creative, and mathematical approach to the field of conceptual art, and for serving as a trailblazer, inspiration, and advocate for artists of all backgrounds, and for sharing your gifts as a dedicated educator, mentor, and author. By the authority vested in me by the Regents of the State of New York and the Board of Trustees of RIT, I am delighted to welcome you back to campus to confer upon you the Honorary Doctor of Fine Arts with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. I now call upon Trustee Ron Ricotta.
President Munson, I have the honor to present my good friend, B. Thomas Golisano, to receive an honorary doctorate of human letters. Tom Golisano is a name that is synonymous with business leadership, entrepreneurship, and philanthropy in Rochester and beyond. His entrepreneurial journey began with the founding of his own payroll processing company, Paychex, which today is the nation's largest human resource company for small to medium-sized businesses, a multi-billion-dollar entity employing over 16,000 people. In addition, he has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to entrepreneurship and innovation, serving as an advisor, investor, and director of countless startups and small businesses. Mr. Golisano is also a renowned philanthropist who has donated many millions of dollars to healthcare, education, and community organizations, transforming the lives of thousands around the world. Under his leadership, the Golisano Foundation is proudly one of the largest private foundations in the U.S. devoted to supporting programs for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. As a donor and trustee emeritus of RIT, his impact on the university has been profound. His generosity has enabled the founding of the Golisano Institute of Sustainability and the Golisano College of Computing and Information Sciences, among other initiatives. We are so proud to call him a lifetime friend of this university.
Mr. Golisano, for your entrepreneurship and leadership in founding one of Rochester's prized companies, and for being a staunch advocate for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities around the world, and for sharing your wealth of knowledge and financial resources to improve the lives of children, students, and community members in Rochester and beyond. By the authority vested in me by the Regents of the State of New York and the Board of Trustees of RIT, I'm delighted to confer upon you the honorary Doctor of Humane Letters with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. I next invite Trustee Kevin Surace for our next introduction.
Good morning. I am honored to present my California state neighbor, Fiona Hodge Ma, to receive an honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters. Today we honor a remarkable woman who has dedicated her life to public service and advocacy. Fiona Ma, California's state treasurer, is a distinguished civic leader who has tirelessly worked to promote economic growth, social justice, and equality in our communities. A proud alumna of RIT, she served on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors and the California State Assembly, where she championed various social and economic issues, including affordable housing, education, and environmental protection. As California's state treasurer, Ms. Ma has continued to advocate for policies that benefit all Californians. Under her leadership, the state has invested in renewable energy, provided support to small businesses, and implemented programs to help families and individuals struggling with financial hardships. Throughout her career, Ms. Ma has made a significant impact in the field of finance and investment, serving on numerous boards and committees that have helped to shape the economic landscape of California and beyond, and demonstrated a commitment to education and empowering the next generation of leaders.
Ms. Fiona Hodge Ma, for your unwavering support of the constituents you serve, and for working to lead legislative change designed to improve the lives of millions, for serving as a role model for women of color seeking to do their part to change the world. By the authority vested in me by the Regents of the State of New York and the Board of Trustees, your alma mater, RIT, I proudly confer upon you the honorary Doctor of Humane Letters with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. I now invite Trustee Ron Zarella to please come forward.
Good morning. I have the privilege of presenting my friend and colleague, E. Philip Saunders, to receive an honorary doctorate of humane letters. E. Philip Saunders, the founder and CEO of Saunders Management Company, a firm that manages successful businesses across multiple different industries, including real estate, finance, and tourism, is a true embodiment of the American dream. A Rochester native, Mr. Saunders' vision to improve the trucking industry began with his father's gas station in Henrietta and evolved into Travel Centers of America, the nation's largest chain of truck stops. From there, he became a serial entrepreneur, one who identified needs and built countless successful businesses to solve them. Beyond his business expertise, Mr. Saunders is committed to supporting the community. He's a dedicated philanthropist, devoted to education, healthcare, and the arts, thus improving the lives of thousands. In addition to his transformative gift to name the Saunders College of Business here at RIT and multiple noteworthy gifts since, RIT is especially grateful for his support of student scholarships for those hailing from his home community.
Mr. Philip Saunders, for your business acumen and visionary leadership, and for creating countless companies, creating jobs, and solving problems, and for giving back to your community through your thoughtful and generous philanthropy. By the authority vested in me by the Regents of the State of New York and your fellow members of the Board of Trustees of RIT, I confer upon you the Honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. I now invite Trustee Clayton Turner to the podium for our final introduction.
I have the privilege of presenting my colleague and friend, Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen, to receive an honorary degree of science. Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen is a prominent figure in the world of science and engineering with a wealth of experience in the field of space exploration with a special focus on solar physics. After completing his PhD in physics from the University of Bern in Switzerland, he embarked on a distinguished career in academia. At the University of Michigan, he held various teaching and research positions while authoring hundreds of papers and articles on topics ranging from solar physics to space instrumentation. He later served as the Associate Dean for Entrepreneurial Programs at the University of Michigan. The University of Michigan's College of Engineering, where he focused on fostering innovation and entrepreneurship among students and faculty across the entire university. Dr. Zurbuchen is now known for his role as the former and longest continually serving Associate Administrator for the Science Mission Directorate at NASA. There, he oversaw some of the agency's most important research initiatives and programs, including the historic Mars 2020 mission, landing the rover Perseverance and small robotic helicopter Ingenuity as part of NASA's Mars exploration program. He is also credited with leading the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope, the images from which are reshaping our understanding of our own galaxy and beyond. Today, Dr. Zurbuchen continues to be a leading voice in the world of space exploration and science. He has received numerous awards and accolades for his contributions to the field, and his work continues continues to inspire and inform scientists and researchers around the world.
Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen, for your significant contributions to the field of solar physics, engineering, and space exploration, for your commitment to teaching and inspiring the next generation of scientists and researchers, and for your leadership in entrepreneurship and advancing the frontiers of human knowledge. By the authority vested in me by the Regents of the State of New York and the Board of Trustees of RIT, I confer upon you the honorary Doctor of Science with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Well, class of 2023 and members of the audience, it is indeed a personal privilege for me and an honor to invite to the podium for what is certain to be an awe-inspiring speech, your newest classmate. Please join me in giving a warm Tiger welcome to Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen.
Good morning, everybody. When I'm next to the president, I feel short. This doesn't happen very often. But I wanted to start and let you know that I've had the opportunity to work with the deaf community. I know Sean Forbes, a deaf American hip-hop artist from Detroit, who is also a graduate from Rochester Institute of Technology's National Technical Institute of the Deaf. So I want to first tell you that he sends his regards and congratulations, but I'm going to pause and make a few comments in American Sign Language.
Hello. Congratulations. You made it. I am proud of you all.
I want to tell you that first I thought of asking Sean to teach me those signs, and after seeing the movie Coda and also knowing my desire, especially with my family, to teach kind of some inappropriate words in Swiss German maybe, I was so glad that Dr. Kurtz actually helped me with this. So thanks so much, Doctor. Really appreciate it. First, I want to congratulate all of you, class of 2023. You've made it. You have achieved a major important goal that surely will help set you up for success. You're a college graduate and you have worked hard for that achievement. Also, I want to congratulate those of you who are first in your families to graduate. Many of you have walked a steep path to arrive here today. You make your families and your professors extremely proud. You have opened new doors for yourselves. How do I know? I, too, was the first in my family to graduate from college. And I want to add my thanks to all you family members and friends who are here today. As Fred Rogers once famously said, all of us have special ones that have loved us into being. You have been part of these students' path, and you have supported them through up and downs, and you will be there for them in the future. I feel the love and the pride in this room. Congratulations to you all. So I want to ask again everybody to join me in a round of applause for those who have supported today's graduates. I remember standing in a nearly empty room last July. I was looking at a startling image of the universe captured in a totally new way, in infrared light, and I was in awe. I was looking at the deepest image of space ever captured, something that only a handful of scientists had yet seen. It does not happen very often that we can look at the universe in a totally new way. In 1609, 1610, Galileo looked through a first telescope and found stunning surprises. Jupiter had celestial companions. the Galilean moons, as we now call them. And I always wondered how he felt when he saw the universe anew. Then, on that afternoon last July, it happened to me. I saw the universe anew. Some light in this picture I was looking at had taken over 13 billion years to make it to the telescope that imaged it, the James Webb Space Telescope, the most complex and most expensive space mission ever undertaken by humanity. As I stood there, I noticed that my eyes were welling up. The sense of awe was almost too much for one person. But I wasn't the only reason for that emotion, frankly. As a head of NASA's science program, I had been part of the struggle to build this telescope for 6 years, and first it seemed almost hopeless. Within less than a year on the job, I could see that we were in deep trouble. Despite spending over $1 million per day, we were not getting any closer to launching it. For nearly 2 years, every day, the launch moved 1 day to the right. Every 6 months, the team made a mistake that would set them back another 6 months. Soon, I was invited to testify to Congress, and I don't recommend that at all. Our elected representatives were rightly wondering whether this project would just be too much. It was devastating for the entire team and tens of thousands of astronomers worldwide. They wondered whether this groundbreaking technology could ever even get off the ground, much less photograph deep space. The next steps were not easy. We had to make major adjustments to the team leadership and culture, but with a final lifeline given by Congress and very deliberate changes, the team got better and better each day. When we launched the telescope on Christmas 2021 on our European rocket, we started the most complex and most risky deployment of any space system in history. We were there, despite all odds. Earlier, when a science journalist did an online poll of experts regarding whether they believed JWS-2 would ever work, the vast majority admitted they had no hope. There was another reason why my eyes were welling up that afternoon in July. Growing up in a farm village in the mountains of Switzerland, I had looked at the sky as a child and I had dreamt about the stars. I did not know any engineers or scientists when I was little. I had read many books about spacecraft, and I dreamt about exploration, space exploration especially, but all of that seemed so remote. Growing up in my strictly religious family, science was neither studied nor appreciated. And when I started to gain interest in studying science and engineering, a well-meaning teacher told me that I was probably just not smart enough. This stuff is hard, he said, perhaps too hard for you. It did not hold much hope that I could be part of a university even. Yet that day, in front of the deepest ever image of the universe, I thought back to that little kid on the roof in the farm looking at the dark sky and dreaming. And now, that same first-generation college student and his team were making history beyond any expectations, beyond any hope. As we look into our world today, there are many things that truly worry us at a global scale. The aggression of Russia against Ukraine, reigniting the fears of nuclear war I grew up with as a child in Europe. Tensions originating further east that challenge our deeply held societal principles about freedom and government for and by the people. Gun violence in the country here and there, and inequities here and around the world. Fundamental concerns about how we treat one another as humans. Hate and fear, so it seems, have taken a hold of so many hearts. Hard-won freedoms are at risk. And after running the largest earth science research program worldwide, I'm keenly aware that our planet is changing more rapidly than many had predicted. That's not a matter of belief or theory, but about collecting and understanding data gathered from space. From the vantage point of 39 active NASA-built Spacecraft are right now, as we're sitting here in Rochester, looking at the Earth, the most beautiful planet we know, and we measure ice levels, floods and droughts, and sea levels every single day. And we also observe devastation, both natural and human-made. For example, there were 2 so-called 500-year floods in Florida since 2020. So with all this, how can we have hope? Because we can choose to be hopeful. The decision to have hope is sometimes not popular or even reasonable. How do we think of ourselves? Do we stack up our anxieties and doubts until they become a wall of doom? Or do we see ourselves like Gene Kranz, who spearheaded the return of the hopeless Apollo 13 mission when he declared that failure is not an option? It takes lasting courage to achieve big goals, and it's not a one and done. We need to recommit to hope on a regular basis. And yes, when it comes to big goals, failure is an everlasting possibility. Fear and hope are often neighbors when it comes to the biggest decisions. Know that and do your best anyway. See, hope is not just a feeling, but it is manifested in belief and in action. When asked what he would do if he was told the earth would stop tomorrow, reformer Martin Luther said, "I would plant a tree." He wanted to commit a last act of hope. Here's what I believe. It's act of hope that changed the world for the better. Inventing a new medical device, running a new company, harnessing a new form of clean energy, creating a non-for-profit that is focused on societal impact, being a civil servant in a state with an economy that is 4th in the world, just looking alone like my colleague over there, advocating for deaf actors in theater and in the movie industry. In fact, imagining an astonishing telescope. Each of these are acts of hope, and courage matters, and in their aggregate, they create new ideas, new solutions, new ways of seeing and being. Primatologist and anthropologist Jane Goodall warned us about the absence of hope when she said that the greatest danger in our future is apathy. The decision whether to be hopeful is up to us each day, and so is the courageous decision to act on that hope and work hard to make it happen. Let's go back to Christmas Day 2021, the day we prepared to launch the James Webb Space Telescope. I was in Kourou, near the tropical rainforest in French Guiana, at the European Spaceport right by the equator. The teams had worked so hard, and all of it now hung in the balance. Hope and fear were really close together, with 2 speeches in my pocket, one nobody remembers I gave, and one I never wanted to give. The pressure was enormous, as tens and thousands of researchers and millions of space fans were watching live as the countdown occurred. This event drew the international community together in a big way. Let's live through it again.
Standing by for terminal count.
À tous de DDO, attention pour les décomptes finales. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, unité, top.
And we have engine start. And liftoff.
Décollage.
Decollage, liftoff from a tropical rainforest to the edge of time itself. James Webb begins a voyage back to the birth of the universe.
People around me were in tears. Some of them had worked 20 years for this telescope project, and I felt a great relief and great hope. The European-led launch team and the US-led spacecraft team had achieved perfection. They brought diverse sets of skills and strength together as a powerful collective. The spacecraft was unfolded and put 1 million miles away from the Earth. And we're opening a new period of science and exploration, exploring the skies in ways that will surely affect how we think not only about the sky itself, but also our place in it and the history that got us here. By the way, I just wanted to make sure that you understand that the person who was in charge of most of the time of this telescope so far is in the room. Could you please stand up, Professor? Yes, you. You know her from the title page of the magazine, but you've seen her here. Leaders of that type are your professors here, and I'm just so excited for the whole school and for you and your entire group. Well, look, from all this, I learned something important that I want to leave with you today. Do not let fear or doubt win out over hope. Bet on hope. Dare to do mighty things. It is much easier to succumb to fear and not even try than bet on hope and put in the hard work to achieve something others may have thought of or thought was unachievable. Even worse, it is easy to critique those who try. And know this, you have superpowers to help you harness hope in the journey ahead. I was an immigrant. My upbringing was humble. I had to work hard to solve challenges that seemed easy for others. I had to think differently. And first, it seemed that all these things were barriers and disadvantages. But in retrospect, it turns out that those very tools were the kinds of superpowers for me. You too have your own backgrounds, your own story, your special strength. Some of you have a tremendous challenge and challenges ahead or before in your life that you have or had to overcome. Some of you have experienced disadvantage and discrimination, or perhaps, like me, you didn't have a roadmap for higher education. Some of you have just always colored around the lines, or like the guy who stole the president's golf cart yesterday, you know, breaking some of the rules from time to time. I'm sure you know who you are. But each of you has superpowers that are unique to you. Use them. Better yet, find others to team up with whose skills and experience are different than yours. The power of that kind of diverse teams is unstoppable in this business of hope. This is a day of hope, a day of new beginnings. As you look forward in the path in front of you, it may look a bit ambiguous and sometimes even a little bit scary. But know that being your authentic self gives you superpowers. Don't worry so much about the grand master plan in your career and your life. Go ahead and dare mighty things. Bet on hope. Listen to the universe. Launch into it. Find opportunities to work with and learn from, and those who bring different skills and experience to the table. And remember that, even in challenging times, there's an opportunity to make the impossible possible. For that journey, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. Congratulations, good luck, and go Tigers.
Thank you, Dr. Zurbuchen, so much for being here today and for sharing that wonderful message. The Norman A. Miles, a former employee of RIT, created a unique award to be given to a full-time student who began their studies at RIT as a first year and is entering their last year of study. What makes this award so special is that the student can then select a faculty member to acknowledge one who contributed the most to the student's success at RIT, and that individual receives a matching award. It is my pleasure to announce that the 2023 student recipient, Uzoamaka Okekwe, or Uzo, is a third-year computer science student in the Golisano College of Computing and Information Sciences. Uzo, who is on co-op this semester, selected Dr. Corinna Schloms, a professor in the College of Liberal Arts, as her faculty member recipient. Uzo and Corinna, congratulations. It is now my distinct honor to introduce the 2022-2023 President of Student Government, Aditya or Adi Khanna. Yeah. I agree. Adi has been an outstanding leader over the past year, representing students and their viewpoints on many issues, some of them quite sensitive and challenging. Adi graduates this weekend with a Bachelor's of Science degree in computer science. Born in Austin, Texas, he moved to Massachusetts as an infant. He enjoys traveling, especially to India to visit relatives, is a die-hard Boston sports fan, and enjoys rooting for RIT hockey. After sharing some brief remarks with us, Adi will introduce our undergraduate and graduate student speakers. Please join me in welcoming Adi Khanna to the podium.
Good morning. I am truly humbled and honored to be given the opportunity to speak at this year's academic convocation. Wow. Tigers, we made it. This class has seen it all. I mean, we had an entire pandemic sandwiched into our college experience, and I promise that's the only time I'll bring that up today. Writing this speech was difficult, partly because in true college student fashion, I procrastinated it, but also partly because to me, graduating is bittersweet. Being an RIT student means you get to experience college differently. Whether you went on co-op or your friends did, we all had to constantly adjust to new environments and make the most of it. Being an RIT student means innovating both in and out of the classroom and combining your passions with your education to create a genuine impact. Being an RIT student means spending most of your college indoors because your college is so damn cold that you need tunnels to get to class. Being an RIT student means a lot of things, but as we can see here today, most importantly, being an RIT student means being part of a community of intellect, compassion, and unity. I know everyone here had a different experience, but man, did I love being an RIT student. I loved running through dorm tunnels, playing sardines, bringing an entire Christmas tree into our common room and decorating it as a floor. Every Ultimate Werewolf game that always got a little too personal. I loved messing around with virtual backgrounds when I couldn't pay attention to Zoom lecture anymore. And I loved and was honored to be your student government president this year. I mean it when I say I am overwhelmed with emotions about graduating, and I think we're all in that boat. We've made so many memories, friendships, mistakes, and tuition payments, and now we just have to say goodbye and move along with our lives. Personally, I'm excited for this next chapter, and naturally, a little nervous. But once upon a time, college was the new chapter of our lives, the best of mine so far, and so our story isn't over yet, rather, it's just getting started. Whether you're moving on to pursue your education further, apply your skills into the workforce, or you're just not sure yet, be proud of who you are and how far you've come. We've all worked really hard to be here today, so celebrate your accomplishments. I want to thank my parents, sister, and extended family who have been so supportive of me and have inspired me to be the best version of myself. I also want to thank all the friends, mentors, and professors who have contributed to my experience here. You are what I will miss the most. Tigers, congratulations. Be proud and hold your heads high as you embark on your next adventure, remembering that the skills and knowledge that you have gained here will serve you well as you navigate the challenges and opportunities ahead. Go forth and make your mark on the world, knowing that you have the power to create positive change and leave a lasting legacy. Tigers, congratulations. Thank you. Each college selects an undergraduate and graduate student delegate to represent their student body at convocation. And to speak at their college ceremony, Out of this group, RIT has selected undergraduate college delegate Anna Casper from the College of Science and graduate delegate Elena Pishuk from the Saunders College of Business to speak to you on behalf of all graduates. We will start with today's undergraduate delegate. Please join me in welcoming Anna to the podium.
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Anna Casper, or as my ultimate Frisbee family likes to call me, AK. COVID-19, for many of us, disrupted our plans. It amplified and forced us to confront the internal, external, and systemic conflicts in our personal lives and in the world. If there was any silver lining, it might have been the resurgence of an underappreciated skill: advocacy. Acts of self-advocacy are not glamorous or pretty. In all honesty, they can be mundane and sometimes frustrating. But all of you deserve to be sitting here because you communicated what you needed so you could succeed. Maybe you went to your professors for help, set boundaries in new relationships, or asked RIT how to fund your education. Whether or not you came in knowing how to ask for what you need, I applaud and recognize your tenacity and resilience in pursuing your education. With the ability to advocate for ourselves comes the opportunity to advocate for others. I want all of you to look around. In our small corner of the world, we are graduating from a technical institute that is uniquely interwoven with the deaf and hard of hearing community. The interactions between the deaf and hard of hearing and hearing communities have served to reinforce an important lesson for the real world. Talent can be found in anyone, anywhere. Whether people grew up in challenging circumstances or had every resource available to them. The untapped potential is there. A lack of talent is not the problem. The main challenge is tapping into all that talent. One that requires two things. The first is technological innovation, and the second is motivation to expand your perspective. Luckily, we, as RIT and TID graduates, are poised to do both. No matter which small corner of the world or outer space you end up in, embrace and celebrate your talent and the talents of the people around you. Congratulations, class of 2023.
I must admit that I felt way more confident when I did it in front of the mirror in my bathroom. But since there is no return, let me share my story with you. I had a dream, American dream, and I got it. Coming in the US actually felt like visiting a huge amusement park themed to almost any American movie. You know these sections in Universal Studio where Harry Potter fans can immerse in a magical world? So it's almost the same, except to the fact that it's not a movie setting. It's actual American reality. And I was like a kid when I got here, almost embarrassingly excited about everything. Eating s'mores, leaving my stuff in the lockers like an Hit Me Baby One More Time clip. But the peak was when, for one of the RIT trips, we took a ride in a yellow school bus. Nothing can beat that. It was huge. America is a perfect example of eclectic to me, because here you can find anything you may think about. Unicorns in the valley, and then rats in New York City subway, fancy Bostonian lobsters, and then, whoops, garbage plate. It's the country where you have super user-friendly advanced software to fill in your taxes, which you then still need to print and mail, attaching handwritten check. So, country of all the possible contradictions and controversials, goods and bads, actually way more complex than we can see in glossy Hollywood movies. And as an international student, you have very limited time to explore everything this country has to offer, still being focused on studies. And I think that I did it pretty well. But someone will always disagree with me. You know this annoying voice in your head, which is like a broken record, keeps saying something like, "It's now or never. You could do it better." And now, with all this AI anxiety in the world, it can be also something like, "Actually, nothing matters because AI will replace you anyway." So we had pretty intensive conversations with this voice throughout these 2 years of my staying at RIT. It would be something like, "Wow, I got my MBA from American University. I did it in foreign language without any sufficient business background. It's a huge accomplishment." And the voice will be like, "Yeah, well, you know, you could also go to all the office hours and actually read all the Harvard Business Reviews assigned to you and go to all the possible college club activities to kind of, you know, take maximum out of this education. And you didn't do that, so." And I'll be like, "Okay, well, yes. But, you know, at least I got work experience in the US, and I worked in a tech startup in California as I was dreaming." And the voice will be like, "Yeah, but it wasn't Google, right? And also, you didn't get a 6-figure job offer after that. Actually, you didn't get any job offers, so." And I'll be like, "Well, you got me here, but you know what? At least I did many amazing things, and I explored the country. So, for example, last summer I had a chance to help to build real art car for Burning Man and meet many inspiring people doing mind-blowing projects like, for example, Internet for Mars. And it's actually not a joke. Isn't this great?" And the voice will be like, Yeah, but did you actually go to Burning Man? Yeah, this is what I thought. So now you have some basic understanding of our toxic relationships. And the hardest part is that you cannot break up with your head. And these dialects are extremely exhausting, and they cannot lead anyone to success, no matter how you define it, but only to mental breakdown, which they did to me. And I know that I'm not the only one crazy here hearing voices in my head. We all do have them to some extent. Unfortunately, they are extremely loud when you're most insecure. When you're young and confident because you still try to understand the world and your place in it. When you're lonely because you cannot break through your cultural background and meet and build meaningful connections in a new country. When you're stressed out because you're afraid of uncertainty you have to deal with. When you lost your focus and purpose because there are so many paths you can take and you're afraid to make a mistake and pick the wrong one, so you rather procrastinate and do nothing. And of course, when you are in the country with one of the most competitive environments the world ever known, in the bittersweet America. Handling these voices is a skill that we're gonna master throughout all our lives. There is no escape from them. But I want to believe that the roars of our hearts will always be louder, because we are tigers in the end. Congratulations, and let's rock it today and beyond.
Well, thank you, Adi, Anna, and Elena. Great thoughts and a great kickoff to the weekend celebrations. Now it's time for what I'm told is everyone's favorite part of the program. You've all been sitting a while and doing a lot of listening, and so now it's time to move around a little bit and have a little fun. I'm going to introduce the undergraduate and graduate college delegates and dean for each unit. As I do that, I ask that the faculty, staff, and all candidates for degrees from that unit who are in the audience, as well as their families and other guests, to stand. The delegates will accept a symbolic diploma presented by their dean on behalf of all the graduates of that unit. And then I want you to join me in cheering their accomplishments. We actually view this as a little bit of a competition as to which unit can generate the biggest display of celebration. I'm going to read the names first and then the college. When you hear your college, it's time to celebrate and make some noise. So here we go. Vincent Alban, Megan Snavely, and D. Todd Jokel, College of Art and Design. That's right, the bar's been set. Megan Dempsey, Elena Pishuk, and the delegate from RIT China, Yangxi Long, as well as Suprita Oliveira from RIT Dubai, with Dean Jacqueline Majrel, Saunders College of Business. Nushat Minhaz, Wyatt Tauber, and Dean Matt Hunerfauth from Golisano College of Computing and Information Sciences. Our next group is a little smaller, so I'm going to ask everybody to help out. Marko Juric with Dean Don Hudspeth from RIT Croatia. Diamani Peterson, Anthony Bacchetta with Dean Doreen Edwards, Kate Gleason College of Engineering. Calvin Yang, Peter Van Camp, and Dean S. Manyan Ram Kumar, College of Engineering Technology. Catherine Coons, Stephanie Lang, and Dean Yang Tai Wang, College of Health Sciences and Technology. Ndidi Kima, Jamie Giroux, and Zana Messine from RIT Kosovo, Zaina is watching from live stream, with Dean James Hall, School of Individualized Study. Emma Egan and Libna Rodriguez with Interim Dean Kelly Norris Martin, College of Liberal Arts. Abigail Murray and Surya Sahetapi and Dean Jerry Buckley, National Technical Institute for the Deaf. Anna Casper and Pansy Thane Lynn with Dean Andre Hudson, College of Science. Paris Nandu and Dr. Nabil Nasser, Golisano Institute for Sustainability. Now, that was wonderful, and there is no question in my mind that you are all really happy to be graduating. It is now time to turn to the most important reason for being here today, the official conferral of degrees. Will all of the 2023 candidates for degrees in the audience and on stage please stand and remain standing? Members of the Board of Trustees and President Munson, it is my great honor to present RIT's candidates for degrees for the year 2023.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the State of New York and the Board of Trustees of Rochester Institute of Technology, I now confer upon you the degree to which you are entitled as certified by the faculty and signified in the commencement bulletin with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations, and I invite you to turn your tassels to the left as you are now graduates of RIT.
Congratulations, and you may be seated. This concludes the 2023 academic convocation. Following RIT's alma mater, the platform party will exit first, followed by faculty and graduates. The platform party will exit down the main aisles. The graduates and faculty will exit through the doors they entered. Guests, for everyone's safety, please remain seated until we have left the room. You may meet your student just outside this building to the north at the bottom of the hill emblazoned with the RIT tiger paws. Ushers are on hand to direct you. Thank you for being a part of this celebration and enjoy the weekend. Please stand for the RIT alma mater. You will find the words on the last page of your program.